Hi everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series. What about playing solo, jazz, piano, and solo standards for piano? Hop on over to jeremysiskind.com. Got some good deals going on, some package deals, put some things together, make my day, place a little order. Today's video subject is about reharmonizing a pop tune. And just to start this, I'm going to put aside questions of taste and whether or not it's a good idea, whether or not it's necessary. I know people have complex feelings about pop music when we're talking about it in a jazz context, but we're just going to say, okay, let's say that you wanted to play a pop tune and you really wanted to bring it into the jazz harmonic world a little bit more. How might you do this? I picked a tune that I already have a chart for, which is Bob Dylan's Simple Twist of Fate. Let me play for you what's more or less the original harmonization here, and then we'll talk about reharmonizing it. So here's... So I really quite like, Dylan's harmonization, and one could argue that, in fact, this tune is so much about the way that the chords move, because as you can see, the melody is very flat, right? I don't mean this as a knock on Dylan at all, but it's not a very good melody to play instrumentally, right? Because there's just so many repeated. The point is more about the storytelling and the poetry, and also the way that this original harmony is moving chromatically. And then I love this shift to minor. So again, maybe I'm over apologizing, but no knock on the original harmony. Let's just discuss if we wanted to, make this sound like a modern jazz song and have some chord changes that are really going to be interesting to improvise over. What might we do? So the first thing that I think about is increasing the harmonic rhythm, right? So as it stands for most of the song, the chords are only changing every 2 measures, and that actually does make it, besides the melody, that kind of limits how interesting it is to be played instrumentally, because we have stagnant chords, we have stagnant melody, and so it's a little bit stagnant, I guess, is the only thing that you could really say about that. So, I guess I would start asking myself, like, what if the chords change every 2 beats, instead of every 8 beats at the beginning? And a great place to start on any harmonization is a bass line. And since this melody is staying flatlined, having a bass line that is very directional would be an interesting idea. So let's just start with a chromatic bass line. Let's see what happens. So we're going to do some kind of an E chord and then some kind of an E flat chord. Not the only answer, but chromatic bass lines are often a very good answer. So I'm still going to start on that F chord so we are oriented. So I could, from here, what I'm really doing is I'm thinking of chords that contain the melody notes relevant. So A for the E chord with an E bass, and then A and C for a chord with the E flat bass. I'm starting to ask myself, well, what kind of chords are going to have that melody note included? And for the E chord, probably an E minor chord of some kind is going to be the most interesting. I want to kind of create some color against the F. And bringing in like something with an F sharp is making that really interesting. Now, as we get to the E flat chord, that A is the sharp 11. So probably we're going to have to do either a major 7th or a dominant 7th sharp 11th. Let's go for the major 7 just for now. So now we've got a question. Do we want to, start back at F for the next phrase? Do we want to continue on chromatically? Or like maybe we could honor this and we could start with an E chord. That could be kind of cool. So let's see what happens if we keep the F over E. And then we're gonna go 2 steps chromatically down again. To some kind of an E flat chord, some kind of a D chord. I hope it's clear I'm not claiming these are right answers. I'm just walking you through one potential process. Okay, so let's see. We're really limited on the D chord because we have D, A, and C. So it can't be a D major or anything. It could be a D minor or a D dominant. I think minor is going to be a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to make it a D minor 7. We could make this E flat chord an E flat major 7 sharp 11 again, but we already did that. What about an E flat half diminished chord? That would be another E flat chord that has an A. What would that sound like? Maybe. I kind of dig it. So let's see. From the beginning, now I've got. All right. We could keep that going, but I'm just hearing continuing moving to D flat here and doing like a D flat augmented major 7. And maybe I could go down to B7 flat 9. I'm kind of just using my instincts here while focusing on keeping that that bass line moving in a particular direction. I skipped C just because C is kind of boring, right? C is the 5th of the overall key. So like, sure, I could come up with a C chord. And that's really lovely. I used a C minor 7. But I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to that. Maybe not. Let's see. So here's what we have. And then I could still arrive at the B flat chord. It won't be B flat over D. It'll just be like a normal old B flat major chord. It's a little plain for me. But I'm not sure I have a better idea. Maybe I'll change chords. Maybe I'll go to like an E flat sus or something to give that a little color. So that I'm just not in like the F major diatonic world for too long. Like the way I've established it, I think if I just hung out on the 4 chord, it would feel kind of plain. So now I've got. Yeah, I'm not like over the moon with the B flat major chord, but I can live with it. And you can see that the notes here just like literally spell out B flat major 7. We have B flat, D, F, A. So, alternate things aren't going to be that many. I could use like a G minor 7 or something. Well, maybe that's nice. Maybe I'll keep the G minor 7. So why did I get to G minor 7? Because I was just searching for other chords that had those 4 notes, right? B flat, D, F, and A. Was then he felt alone. Okay, so I've got G minor. I'm kind of breaking my chromatic bass line now. So the melody's pretty similar for the 2 bars we just did and for the 2 bars that are coming out, right? They both kind of go from B flat to a bunch of Fs. let's see, what are some chords that have those two notes? So the first one that I just experimented with was like E7 alt. I didn't like it very much. What about like D minor 7 flat 6, D flat 6? That could be interesting. G flat major has the third and seventh. We could do a bunch of different versions of that. Maybe G flat augmented major 7th. If we choose a G flat thing, we could do something kind of parallel to what we just did of changing chords on beat 4. So I could do like G flat major to E flat minor 7. And then with this G natural coming up, we can't hang out in this key center longer because this all has G flats. Maybe like, and I'm thinking so much about bass movement here, guys, right? I went from G to E flat, and so I'm going kind of a similar bass motion from G flat to E flat, stepping down to D. That's too dramatic. So this is such a signature moment in the tune that this is, I think, is going to be the hardest part. And it's also melodically just outlining an F triad. So it's kind of much more difficult in a lot of ways to harmonize this than other parts of the tune because it's giving me more information. So I'm more restricted. I feel like I'm very conscious too that the original has this contrary motion, right? The bass is going down while the melody is going up. So I'm like, do I want to do that? Or is that going to be too cheesy for me to do that in this context? Some kind of a G7 with an 11 is going to be really nice here. Maybe we go to C minor here. It's kind of interesting because the melody notes are upper extensions, the 11th, the 13th, and then the root, which isn't that interesting. Maybe like a little A flat major chord to get into that G11. And then we have to figure out how traditional of a cadence we want to make here. So maybe we end on that F, but I'm doing an E flat minor, which again is nice because those melody notes are going to be upper extensions. And then I'm going to end on F here. Let's hear the whole thing. It's going to be a mess, but it's our mess, isn't it?
to do one more time. So the thing that I hated is just going to the E flat twice in a row. Here, I'll put on the bigger screen. I circled it in this green highlighter. Right, I'm going to E flat kind of twice in the same position. So maybe the second time I could either go to D or maybe I could go to E instead. Like I still want that feeling of a new chord coming in. So maybe if I do like an E7 alt, that would accommodate the F melody note, and then I could continue through that B flat over D. So if you're interested in seeing how I'm playing these chords, you're welcome to it. I know that this pitch notator isn't always accurate, but it's better than nothing. And then I just kind of came out with this little interlude thing that I liked where I'm playing triads while holding that F. Probably stole it from Brad Meldau at one point. And then I could try soloing over it. That C minor there. All right, so something like that. But yeah, I'm going through it, and just to sum up a few things that maybe you've observed, learned, figured out. Firstly, I'm thinking a lot in terms of bass notes, right? I'm coming up with a bass line maybe first before I actually figure out the chord qualities. Secondly, I'm searching for notes that are, I'm searching for chords where the melody note is going to be an upper extension or a more interesting note. Thirdly, I'm kind of conscious of where I'm able to really change the mode and get out of my F major territory versus where I'm in my F major territory, and I'm trying to be strategic. And then fourthly, I'm changing the harmonic rhythm. I'm not always keeping the same harmonic rhythm as the original. Mostly I'm making chords move more rapidly than the original. All right, if this was a good level for you, check out playing solo jazz piano. There's a lot of just hints about how to be creative with music that are kind of at the level or headed in this direction. And if you like this, why don't you name your favorite Bob Dylan song? If you made it all the way to the end, name your favorite Bob Dylan song in the comments. You could be slick about it if you want. Thank you for watching. I know this was a long video. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye, everyone.